Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. It's your boy Andy Rambles, the music adventurer, and yeah, this time we're doing a band that I wanted to do basically from the get-go when I started doing these ranking videos, and it's Slowdive, who are a band that's, no matter what, ever since I discovered them, which I think was in '06, but it might have been '05, when I was getting into shoegaze, ever since I discovered them, they've been one of my top 10 favorite bands, and I mean, you can't really rank top 10s bands. It's hard enough to do discographies, but if I, had to, gun to my head, I would definitely put them in the top five, and that's saying a lot because whatever company I would put them with, like Pink Floyd and Fleetwood Mac and stuff, I mean, whatever company I would put them with would be just the highest echelon, at least in my mind. So anyway, they have four full-length albums and four EPs that I'm counting. The number 8 will kind of be an EP slash single, kind of like a combination of the two. So let's kick it off because my intros are usually way too long. We're gonna go with number 8 is gonna be the 5 EP. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of this on vinyl or anything, a standalone copy, but the 5 EP tracks are on the Souvlaki deluxe edition that came out in '05, which makes me believe that I probably did discover the band in '05. I definitely was in high school, and they had a profound effect on me. But, and I gotta say, the tracks on here even are perfect, so to put it at the bottom is kind of a heartbreaker. But yeah, you can get it on the disc 2 of the Souvlaki Deluxe. That's disc 2 there, and it's one of the bonus tracks. So the 5 EP is Good Day Sunshine, which is just so beautiful, 5 Minutes of Bliss, Missing You, and Country Rain, which kind of sounds like a precursor to what Mojave 3 would be doing. And then I'm kind of going to put this as a companion piece, the 5 EP In Mind remixes. So In Mind is on the Outside Your Room EP, and they remixed these tracks. One of them's 8 minutes, the other goes just beyond 10 minutes. And they're very of their time, like electronica, but they are amazing and blissful, and they're like kind of like an acid trip, but they're kind of like outer spacey, and they're also kind of like heavenly. So, and Slowdive always straddles the lines between all those things. You kind of get those images when you listen to them. It's very otherworldly, and even these remixes are like that. The Bandulu remix, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and the Reload mix. And hopefully next year or the year after, I'll come into a little bit more money to get these. I'll have to stop going to concerts, but I'll get these physically standalone. But it's nice that the bonus tracks are on here. So yeah, so number 7, we're going to continue on with these bonus tracks, and that's the Outside Your Room 1994, which also some sources say it's a single, like on here, but it's more of an EP. It's got So Tired, Musaka Chaos, which is Souvlaki Space Station without the lyrics, and it's almost as satisfying, actually. It's still like a 5-star track, and then In Mind, the non-remix edition, so that only goes on for 4 minutes instead of 8 and 10 like the remixes. So they're all on here if you get a deluxe copy of this absolute masterpiece. So that's going to be 8, 5 EP if you're keeping up, and 7, the Outside Your Room EP. I'm counting it as an EP because it's more of an EP than a single in my mind. And it's usually listed as such, like rateyourmusic.com, which I usually use for a source, but I haven't had a computer for 2 weeks, so, and usually I'm reading these lists off a computer, but not this time. I gotta go on instinct, so look out. That's kind of a scary thought. Number 6 is going to be the Slowdive eponymous return, and this thing is absolutely incredible. So the fact it's number 6 is kind of a travesty, but it shows you this band's the quality. Slow Mo just knocked me out the first time I heard it. Obviously, I had heard the single Star Roving, but Slow Mo, what an opener. And don't know why, go get it. There's no bad songs here. It came out on Dead Oceans in 2017, so it had been I think 22 years since they had put out a studio record, and that was Pygmalion, and even longer since they did like a full band record. And of course there was a tour before this, and I caught them on that reunion tour, but then there was a tour to promote the album where they played some songs. My finger's going into that person's mouth. And it's a great album. The cover leaves a little bit to be desired. I get what they're going for, though. I really like the concept. Like, it's kind of like a box, and it's kind of like in this person's mind, but I'm so bad at describing art. But music is art. That's a whole different thing. Of course, this is a beautiful gatefold. Nice kind of winter scene. So that's number 6, and that feels like it should be way higher. Number 5 is the Morning Rise EP, and you can get it on a deluxe edition of this, which is just for a day, and this came out in 2005, just like the Souvlaki deluxe edition. Morning Rise, especially Losing Today, is an amazing song. Actually, Losing Today and She Calls are standouts, but the title track is amazing too. It's only those 3 songs, but it's incredible, and it would be nice to have that on a standalone. So I really want to get vinyl copies of all these, because Slowdive might have the most perfect track record for a discography, and even if they put out another album, I think the quality will be just as good, maybe even better than the 2017 album. I'm actually pretty sure they'll do like at least one more, and that would be amazing to see. And if that's their run, I mean, that's 2 more than I ever thought they would do, because when I got into them, it was kind of like My Bloody Valentine. I thought, these guys will never reconvene. But, you know, Slowdive, yeah, Shoegaze in general has kind of come back, and all these bands are reforming. Pretty much every Shoegaze band you can think of that had a profound effect on the scene, except for maybe Catherine Wheel and one other. All the big ones came back, Ride and Swerve Driver, so it's nice to see. But yeah, She Calls is kind of the track to that I would recommend checking out of the 3 if you want to see if you want to buy a copy, or obviously just stream it, you can say, in this day and age. Number 4 is going to be that album, Just for a Day, and I don't know where my copy of Souvlaki is on vinyl, but thankfully I have this one, and I love this cover. It really is indicative of the sounds that they would make. I love the coloring. I love how, I guess it's a girl doing like a twirl. I like to think maybe she's in a field or something, and it's kind of like innocent, but it's also kind of druggy, and it's just like the music. Spanish Air, what a great intro track. Everything on here is really dense. It's much less kind of hooky and memorable than Souvlaki, but that's not a slight at all. I think this is pretty much a perfect record. And I remember I found this in Ireland at a record store in one of the major cities there, and I was so happy, and I had to kind of like cradle this on the way back and on the plane, because I couldn't believe I found it. I don't know if it's rare anymore. I'm pretty sure it isn't, but I was so happy when I found this. This came out on Music on Vinyl, so they do quality pressings. I really like music on vinyl. Catch the Breeze is just an amazing classic. Waves. Ballad of Sister Sue even had a music video. Celia's Dream is nice and, well, dreamy. So there you go. 3 is going to be Holding Our Breath EP, and the only reason why this is so high, it's on here again. No, it isn't. I got the wrong one. It's on here. There you go. I was like, wait a minute. The only reason why it's so high, I mean, the golden hair cover is amazing, but it's even better live. The reason is Shine. Shine, basically, if a different song was here than Shine, it wouldn't be this high. It would still be high, though, because those other 2 tracks are amazing. But Shine is just one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. I play it so often. I never get sick of it. I could be in any state of mind. It doesn't matter if your mind is active, if you're tired, if you're, maybe inebriated, or maybe on a little, drug trip or something. You'll get lost in this song anyway. I mean, I've heard it in the comfort of my home here. I've heard it on buses. I've heard it on airplanes. I've heard it in hotel rooms. And it always transports me like up into the clouds, like you're in another world. And Rachel's vocals are amazing. I didn't quite know what the lyrics were till very recently, and I even have more of an appreciation for the song, but it was already like it might be in my top, 20 songs of all time. It might be. I don't know. I don't think I could ever do a top 50 or 20 or 10 songs of all time from, but it's definitely my favorite, either my favorite or second favorite Slowdive song, but that's another story. Shine just astounds me. Just the way it's produced, it's hazy, but it never really gets lost in the haze. It's hard to describe, but it definitely transports me to another kind of realm. And Rachel's vocals, it just sounds like an angel is singing out to you. Like, there's just something about it. And I've said it so many times in my videos, I'm not a huge music video fan. I do give props to, I do like Beastie Boys music videos generally, and Bjork has some ones that have kind of knocked me out, but most bands, especially rock bands, a lot of their videos are kind of lame and don't really capture what the song is. But I really like, and it's kind of low budget, or so it seems, I really like the Shine video. And yeah, there's just something about Rachel singing that song. And generally, I love the Neil leads. I mean, Allison, we'll get to that, but I love his leads. But I generally prefer Rachel's. I think that her voice really suits the band's music. And yeah, it's just angelic, actually. So, number two, and I mean, this is, considering how abstract it is, it might be pretty high for this one, but I just like how this one works. I like, again, it sounds like a dream. I don't know, if you play it in succession, get the headphones, turn the lights out, don't be distracted or on your phone, or, I mean, you can listen to music anytime you like, but it's just my personal recommend that you get lost in this album. And I think what makes this one so high on my list is Rudy, the intro track, which is very patient, and you can hear the cymbals come in. It's kind of like a modern, well, not modern, because the band, it's kind of like Talk Talk. It's kind of like if Talk Talk was a shoegaze band, I guess. And I mean, this isn't really a shoegaze record anymore. Like, there were only 3 of the band members left by this point, and they kind of had lost interest in shoegaze because the UK press had kind of deemed the whole scene dead. They dropped all these bands that they had praised a couple years prior, like Bags of Dirt. They dropped support. The band had to fund their own tour for Souvlaki, and they just fell apart. And Rachel and Neil were more into listening to electronic music and club music, and that kind of prevailed, that kind of influenced where this one would go. Not that you're gonna get up and dance to this, but it's way more electronic, way less song-oriented. The lyrics matter even less. Most of these songs don't have lyrics, they just have kind of cut up vocal samples in that. Rudy has some kind of whispered lyrics from Neil, and you can hear in the background, I don't know if it's Rachel, it must be, or it's sampled. I mean, there's not much live instrumentation. Crazy for You is incredible. It kind of sounds like a dream fading away into like an abyss or something. And Blue Skied and Clear, I mean, that's just made for the soundtrack to the best movie ever made. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was in a movie, but it wasn't like a major movie. That song is just something else. That song sounds like the afterlife to me. But a lot of it is very kind of downplayed and not hooky, and I mean, number 2 might be a little too high for it, but it's just such an experience. And I mean, I gotta rank these somehow. They're all kind of 5 stars for me. I'm not very critical of the Slowdive discography because it just knocks me out what these guys did in such a short time. And they weren't very popular at the time, but their influence was really heard, and shoegaze kind of had a whole resurgence. And you were hearing Kevin Shields in Lost in Translation, and Jesus and Mary Chain, not that they're exclusively shoegaze, but Just Like Honey has a lot of shoegaze elements. You were hearing that in soundtracks, and it really came back. it died in the early to mid 90s, and it came back like 10 years later, and there were all these shoegaze bands again, and new gaze, and people that weren't shoegaze but incorporated it into their sound, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. Um, and they're amazing. I mean, Slowdive, My Bloody Valentine is one of the best groups ever, in my opinion. They did at least two of the best albums ever. But Slowdive will always be my favorite shoegaze band because they just hit me emotionally. And My Bloody Valentine is more the one I would put on to rock out to. But these are the guys to like dream to and to think about life to. And there's just something about them. They're just incredible. And that brings us to number one, which is Souvlaki. I have no idea where my vinyl copy is. I really have to organize my collection a little bit more. It was all in alphabetical. It's kind of fallen away from me as I've made purchases over COVID and that. Not a good excuse, but at least I have the CD copy. And, I mean, this is an incredible record. Allison is almost a pop song. It's kind of druggy and heartbreaking. I believe it's about losing someone you knew or you loved, definitely a lover or a former lover, to drugs, and they become a different person. And you know, the line, I guess she's out there somewhere, and there's just some kind of heartbreaking lines, but it's really catchy and it's almost poppy, which is kind of saying a lot for a non-pop band, and a record that completely failed when it came out, but people really recognize how good it is now. Kind of like the last two Talk Talk records. I don't think they, especially Laughing Stock, didn't do much numbers-wise, and now its influence is really appreciated, and yeah, it's good to see. Machine Gun sounds like, to me, and I don't mean for this to sound morbid, because I'm very happy when I listen to Slowdive, but Machine Gun sounds like drowning, but as kind of a relief, like life is over, but you're moving on to the next life or something. And it's kind of like drowning, death by drowning, but not necessarily a bad thing. And that won't make much sense to a lot of people. But that's what I get out of it, and I think, and that's sort of ignoring what, especially the chorus, but there's just something about, and it's blissful. And you know, I'm not down or I'm not depressed when I listen to Slowdive, but that's what I get. But it just, there's something about that song. I keep saying that, but there's a lot of typos on here, because track 3 says Days, but it's called 40 Days. That's not the name of the song. And then Dagger, they don't have a space there, so I don't know who proofread this. They didn't do a very good job. Kind of seems disrespectful to get track 3's name wrong. 40 Days is amazing. Sing is like Shine. When I read the lyrics and actually found the correct ones, because for a decade or more the wrong lyrics were online, it kind of blew my mind. It's very lullaby-esque and very, I hate to say it, it's dreamy. It's just a different dream, or a different level of the dream, but so much of their stuff sounds like a dream. Whether some of them are nostalgic dreams, and some of them, which I'd say Sing is, and Brian Eno helped them out, so you get his, I mean, he's a master, so you get his, you know, brilliant master strokes all over it. Here She Comes is kind of a downplayed, down-tempo one, and I mean, even the short songs on here really leave an impression, and that's one of them. It kind of sways you from Sing into the incredible interstellar Souvlaki Space Station, it's called, and this is my other favorite song from the band, with Shine. Like, these are 11 out of 10s. I can't really describe just how good they are. They're otherworldly. It sounds like you're floating outside Jupiter or something. It sounds like living in that one scene in Interstellar, or living in the last part of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the lyrics about being in asylum, like, the lyrics are so lonely and haunting, and I don't know if Rachel's just kind of like symbolically writing about a breakup, but it is stunning work. When the Sun Hits is kind of a fan favorite. Altogether is druggy and slow and amazing. Melon Yellow is probably the only song I didn't appreciate. I liked a lot, but I didn't appreciate as much as the rest of the record. And I'm kind of kicking myself these days, because this thing just flows like one entity, all sorts of different moods, and it's great. And there's a typo on that one too. They forgot the dot after the 9, so they ruined the consistency. And then Dagger is just stunning and sparse, and wow, what an incredible record. Yeah, Slowdive, one of my favorite bands ever. Obviously, if you watch the video this far, you probably appreciate them too. It's like, I hate that band. I'm going to watch a 20-minute video of a guy just getting a little too excited about the band. But this was a long overdue video, and when I took my kind of YouTube hiatus and wasn't making videos because of so many different factors and being busy and all that, I was like, man, I didn't make a video for one of my favorite bands ever, that like they have such a great body of work, and maybe are the most consistent band ever. I'm not sure, at least in my opinion. But yeah, so thanks so much for watching. Please share your favorites, or you can rank them as I did. Yeah, Slowdive, it's just, it's love in music form. Thank you so much again, and we'll catch you in another video. Take care of yourselves, everybody.